Hello, everybody. Hi. My name is Patrick Dunn. I'm the Executive Director of the New Haven Pride Center. And we are here in the New Haven Pride Center at the Great Room Gallery. And I'm here with the phenomenal Tia Lynn Waters, who some of you may know as Bubblicious or Bubbles by her stage name. And we're here today to talk to you about our amazing exhibits that we have going on. Bubbles, someone's calling you. Here, live theater, scam, likely. No, we don't want to talk to them. It's a live event, folks.
Go ahead.
So I hope you all are at home enjoying yourselves, relaxing, maybe a glass of wine, while we sit here among the art of Tia Lynn Waters, and super excited to be sitting here with you and talking to you about your exhibit Reflection, or Reflections, because there's more than one.
Yeah.
So let's start off by telling us about this exhibit and what inspired you and how we got here today.
Well, what inspired me was you.
Me?
We were talking about it doing a show, and the opening for a trans person or a trans artist, and I'm like, okay, I always hear about shows like this after the fact, never beforehand. So there's always things I want to get out of my head and I want to create, but the thing is, it's always after the events, and it's like, we had spoken about this show coming up, and I said I would like to do it. I had a lot of ideas I wanted to get out, being that we were doing the whole COVID thing and isolation and election and everything that was going on. There's just so many issues in my head that I wanted to get out and create some sort of artwork out of it. So,
well, I'm going to just say that I think we have probably one of the most powerful exhibits we've had since we started doing our shows here in 2017.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate that.
So just for any of you watching who haven't already seen, you can watch the virtual tour of this exhibit. It is available on our social media right this minute. It will be on YouTube tomorrow. We're just waiting for the video from earlier to finish rendering, and then it'll get uploaded to YouTube. But we are super excited. This is an amazing exhibit. You should totally go check out the virtual tour. Narrated by myself, JC, and Laura in a very comical but celebratory way, as we do.
Very festive.
For our viewers, you can see some of the pieces behind us. This is some of the actual art in the show, including this piece here, which is Blue, one of our merfolk. But so I want to, before we get into the exhibit, let's talk about you for a minute. So for anybody who's watching who doesn't know who Tia Lynn Waters is, who is Tia Lynn Waters?
Tia Lynn Waters is someone who was born in New Haven, grew up and lived around different places, came back home, figured out who I was, and I'm here. I'm an artist. I'm a performer. I am a godmother. I'm a friend. I'm a sister. I'm a daughter. I'm me. I don't know any other way to put it. I'm trying to live my best life at this point, just being myself.
I love that. I knew you as a performer first, and kind of like a den mom. I remember seeing you in earlier years of my going out phase when you were performing every Saturday, it seemed like. And always remember you as being one of those people who I would see out, who was always caring for everybody around them, making sure that all the girls were ready and had what they needed, and it didn't matter you had been doing this for so long. You would help them, make sure they were ready and on stage and so,
That's what I come from an era where you were helped and you helped the next person. You help the next generation. You help the next one because it's just gonna better everything for us, as performers, as trans, as whoever you bringing happiness or just love into the world in one way or another. It can never go wrong. It just can't. I'm a firm believer in that.
Yeah. Well, and that's how I see you. I see you as someone who cares very deeply about everyone around you and wants to support everyone around you and elevate their voices. And somehow you do that without ever dimming your own voice, which is very hard balance to find. And I think of some of the kind of really powerful moments that I've had watching performances, and many of them are yours.
Thank you.
I thought the performance at Pride this year spoke a lot. And I think that's just kind of who you are. And I think your art is in that same vein,
I believe if you have a platform or if you have any way of saying something, make it meaningful. I mean, there are times when I just want to do a number, or there are times when I really don't want to think so hard. But we're here for such a short time. And if there's something to be said, say it now, because tomorrow is never promised. You never know who you can help by saying something, whether it's speaking up as a trans person. There may be somebody out there who needs to hear that there is a life as being trans, or a Black trans person. There's a life that you can live and be happy, and there's always a way to and you help people not even knowing that you help them just by trying to be your best self.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and I think your art says that. I think your art tells that story. There's a lot of representation. There's a lot of very, very bold, strong messages. I look around this room right now, and I'm a little overwhelmed by how many incredible, sad, challenging, difficult subjects you're tackling all at once. And yeah, I mean, do you want to talk a little bit about like some of the subjects you're taking on in this exhibit?
Well, being reflection of me as a person, a Black trans person in this country right now, is a lot of different things. So you're gonna see a lot of different images. Dealing with the COVID, being in isolation, thinking about what tomorrow is gonna be, driving. I mean, just watching. I mean, how we as people of color have to tell our children and our family members how to act just to drive to the store. I mean, and if you are stopped by a police officer, there's a whole 20 list of things that you have to go through just to make sure that you come out of that situation with your life. And these are things that, I mean, the general public does not have to deal with.
Right.
But being a person of color in this country, it's nothing new. I mean, one piece I did called Green Book. I mean, this is something that we've dealt with ever since the end of slavery.
Right.
I mean, the whole issue with the police. I mean, this is 300, 400 years of oppression with that situation. And, as much as I'm happy that conversations are happening, but until actual laws are passed, until actual people are held accountable for these transgressions, I just see a lot of mouths moving, and that's frustrating to me.
Right.
Because, I mean, those are my sisters, brothers, mothers, aunts, uncles, cousins, that I see plastered on the TV every other night.
Right. Well, and I think the piece that you're talking about is just that. I mean, I will say, having not grown up in the U.S., there's big chunks of American history that I just don't know. And
don't feel bad, because there's people that live in this country
that don't know this.
Were
history.
born in this country and
Right.
still don't know the history.
Well, and we're very fortunate. We have amazing resources like Kimura's Cultural Corner in Hartford, which is a queer Afrocentric space. Any of you who don't know who that is, Kimura Harrington runs the space out of Hartford. They've been doing incredible virtual stuff during COVID, but she shares quite regularly kind of Connecticut Black history. And I read, anytime she shares any of that, I sit there and I read them. And unfortunately, many of them are very brief because there's not a lot of the documented history. And reading and learning about the sundown towns and the Green Book, I was kind of mortified because I didn't know that history.
Yeah, I mean, to think that you could be lynched or killed or raped or just beaten just for driving through a town. It's funny because when you guys were walking around talking about how that's something in the past, I grew up where my family, and I thought we were just being like, I thought it was something that everybody did. You packed a lunch and because we would drive from here to down south. And not till I got older did I realize why we had to pack everything food-wise, because there were certain places still, till this day, that you do not want to get caught driving at night. Mm-hmm. Even in this year, right, there are still towns in this country that if you are a person of color driving in them at night, you can be stopped, you can be hurt, you can be in trouble.
Well, or all you have to do is go for a jog. We saw that this year.
Exactly.
If you go jogging in the wrong neighborhood or even the right neighborhood.
Like, again, if as far as if they don't feel that you belong in such neighborhood, that's the reason. I mean, it's just the way things are for a person of color, and this is has to do with a lot of the things that you see here, like don't put the knee here. It's just the whole thing with the tree, the color sign. The color sign is something that I go online and I look up a lot of things, and I saw a lot of like not but 30 years ago there were places where blacks could not go.
Right.
It's not that far. 30 years is not a long place.
No.
It's not a long time ago. So when I made that sign, I was thinking of what would a colored only sign look like today. Mm. And I just made one up, and that was a piece I made. And then the tree with the strange fruit was from the Billie Holiday song. Mm. And I can equate what's happening to people of color now being killed in a certain way, strangled, which equates to being lynched.
Right, same thing.
It's the same thing. And it's like, these people, I mean, they used to drag us out into the streets with mobs chanting, now it's just on a cell phone with a whole fleet of cops choking somebody out, being judge, jury, and executioner for frivolous things. I mean,
with oftentimes a bunch of bystanders watching it happen, mm-hmm. which is, and I never thought of this, is very reminiscent of a lynching.
It's the same picture in my head. It's the same image. Where in the, say, 70, 80 years ago, where you could take me out into the streets, say I did something to you because I was black, I had no say in it.
Right.
You could actually lynch me and not be harmed. And that's the same thing that's happened with these cops and these people. I mean, I've seen people who are mass shooters
get more respect
and get to go to court
Right.
Not get killed, but go to court in due time, where somebody who was stopped for a traffic light or suspicion of something, not proven,
Right.
but suspicion of something. And it's just, sometimes I mean, I wish I did not have to think like this every day.
Mhm.
I mean, it would be so much easier not to have to wake up and think about all this turmoil. And that's one of the reasons I'm glad that I was able, as I told you, I like doing this stuff because the show, it helps me get it from my head out.
Right.
And the sad thing is there's always something else coming in, but at least I can get those images out of my head. And a friend of mine once said, well, why do you always talk about, why can't you talk about something else? I said, I wish there was a day where I could get up and not have to think about this stuff anymore.
Right.
As mad as you, speaking to my friend saying, as bad as you are tired of hearing me talk about it, imagine having to live it every day. So I try, I was talking to someone, I wanted to do very happy, like rosy pictures, and I just couldn't. I mean, the trans stuff is the most colorful thing I could come up with at this moment in time.
Well,
and I had a lot of fun making these.
Oh, these are fabulous. Yeah, you can see most of this. This is one, there's two of these figures for those of you who have not watched the virtual tour. There's two of these figures. Cool, we have a question. What do you want people to take from your pieces? Thank you for that question. I'm sorry I had to get super close to see it.
Say it again.
What do you want people to take away from your pieces in this exhibit?
To think. That there is a question, there's an issue, and how do you as a person either deal with that, or how are you coming to terms with it? Because most of these things that if you can't be a bystander and deal with them, as far as like the aggressions on trans people, with the trans lives in danger, where my sisters and brothers are being killed, and especially of color, where no one seems to care about us.
Right.
And if you don't have a opinion on it, that's saying something. If you don't have an opinion on the knee on the neck, the driving while, being able to drive in this country and be safe without being killed, or there's always a question or a situation where now that you see it, what are you going to do about it?
Mm-hmm.
And somewhere, and not everybody's going to be the biggest activist, but it could be as simple as saying, you hear somebody's talking and they're saying something that isn't kosher. And it's just, it's like, that's not right. Be careful what you say, because words carry a lot of weight. They can hurt people without even knowing it. You can be setting somebody else up, even like a trans joke or a joke about somebody looking a certain way. That person that you're joking with can take that in as a rallying call to hurt the next person.
Right.
And it's like, it's just putting it in your head to say, you know what, let me think about, like, the next time I see this situation, how am I going to deal with it?
Right, and how is, and to kind of quote Allah, who runs our youth programs, I don't need an ally, I need a comrade. I need someone who will get in the trenches with me, and who may not understand the experience, but will fight for me. And I always think of, I think it was ID from Trans Lifeline actually said to me once, it's one of the things that they appreciate the most was when a cis person corrected incorrect pronouns, so that the trans person didn't have to do it, because they've done it probably for the 15th time for the day. And so when they're around cis people and they hear the cis people correcting the pronouns, it's like a relief. It's like a weight off the back
It's
for
like somebody
that
else,
moment.
someone's listening.
Someone's
It's
willing to
not
help
just-
carry the weight.
It's not just that I'm just talking and talking and talking.
Right.
There are actually people listening and saying, okay, this isn't right.
Right.
And we can do better.
Right.
And that's, I mean, it helps. I mean, you never know what it can help the situation.
Right.
I mean, for me, it's therapeutic. I can get things off my, like, I can go to your shrink, or I can just try
Or
and
you
get
can
this
make
stuff.
some art.
I can make some art. One's just easier for me to do. I can sit in my living room and just pop out, pieces, and it just, it helps me, sleep at night. So.
Well, and I will say, I think this exhibit is really cool for all the good reasons, but it's also really cool because this is the first kind of exhibit we've had with this much level of 3D art, and so many different mediums when it's all one artist. Because we've had exhibits and we've had shows that have had mixed media and really diverse kinds of media. But this is the first time where this much mixed media is coming from a single artist.
Yeah.
And it's really cool. And there's a range of pieces in here. There's some retrospective pieces that are, there was the drawings over there. The poster was from '92. So, I mean, how long ago is some of those pieces, right? And it's really cool to see the immense diversity of your art and creativity and ability to create. And I got to see some of the pieces of this, like at their birth.
Yeah.
When you were coming down the street with your bags full of variety of materials from various different places.
Yeah.
And it's so cool to see and go, I know what that was.
Mm-hmm.
And I always love, that's one of my favorite things about artists is that when they can like create things out of nothing, basically.
And that's, I mean, when I put this together, my friend came up to my apartment and he saw this was all just cardboard. I took the cardboard, I covered it, I made this ghost, I made the shape, and he's like, you can shape cardboard like that, and I'm like, you can do it. I mean, if you bend it and it's durable. And what I loved about it was I could make a big piece and it's light.
Right. This doesn't weigh anything. It's amazing. We said that in the tour. It was so easy to hang.
When I make something, I have to be able to lift it. And you know me, I can't, I have bad knees. I can't be lifting, 150 pound pieces.
Yeah.
I can't do it. So when I make something, it has to be lightweight for me. And if I know I can do it, then I know anybody is.
Well, and it's so cool because some of your textures you create, like this, our audience can't really see, but this is all fabric that you've painted.
Yeah.
And these, I didn't even realize this when we were doing the walk around until I'm now this close. These are pieces of fabric that you've sculpted and then painted. And so now it has this really cool, almost latex-like texture to it, but that's not what it is, right? And I think that's what's so beautiful about many of the pieces in this room is that, they started as very humble things. One of the things for our audience, there was 2 paintings that you used the opposite side of a protest sign, where you had like a poster board or a piece of cardboard that you had made a protest sign on for an event. I don't know which ones.
Right.
Pride. I think one of them might have been a previous Trans Day of Remembrance.
No, it was Pride.
This Pride.
This Pride. The signs I used in my number because I had them. I'm home. I wasn't gonna throw them away.
Right.
So I used them. It's like, they're sitting
Which in
there.
a way makes the piece even more powerful because you have on the front a very incredibly strong message, and then you turn around and you have a different, equally strong message.
That's why you understand.
It's like you're embodying intersectionality. You're saying that I can't paint about my Black experience without including my trans experience because they're interlocked.
that goes down the path of, okay, do I go Black Lives Matter or do I go Trans Lives Matter? I mean, I'm at a point where it's like I'm in both lanes. I have no choice but to say both of them. And I mean, sometimes I'm like, well, I want to say Black Lives Matter, but the thing is, the same people in that lane don't see me as a person.
Right.
And it's like, okay, but I still have to sit in that lane and go, you know, and cheer with them, even though they don't see me. I still have to, because again, at that point, I have family and friends who are in that lane.
They want to know exactly how you created the latex-like figures on this piece.
I started with strips of it's a sheer fabric, and thank you. I put a shout out to Charles LaPac. He dropped off a bolt of sheer fabric before he went back to Arizona, and it was at my house. And I was taking pieces of that, dipping it in Gesso, and twirling it, and then I just found that I could do the same thing with just twirling it and using the glue gun to just shape it. And once it's shaped, I can paint it, and it just stays.
Yeah, it's really cool.
I mean, I wanted the cascading water effect and the waves.
A wave, yeah.
And I this right here is just layers and layers of just the sheer fabric cut in scales and just gesso down to the cardboard.
Yeah.
And then it's painted over with the paint.
And then details.
Yeah. Adornments,
some jewels. So I wanna take a minute and talk about the tree, which I'm sorry for those of you who cannot see it because you're not in the room with us. But to my right and Tia's right is an incredible floor to ceiling sculpture of a tree, and it's called Strange Fruit. And from it are hanging these kind of fruit, I guess we'll call them. And they're hung by nooses, and they display the names of many different victims of hate, I'm going to call them, because they're not all trans and they're all Black.
Well, they're all Black.
Are they all Black?
They're Black. They're trans men and women, and they're Black and brown people who have died in like George Floyd,
yeah.
And
Breonna
Taylor, and these type of people that died for what I believe was the wrong reasons. And the thing is, the people that killed them never faced justice. And I equate those situations, as we said earlier, with lynching. Mm-hmm. And when I was sitting down thinking about the ideas of what I wanted to put in this show, that was such a strong image to me that, I mean, I had to get it out some way, somehow. I had to, make a point to say, this is the same thing. Mm-hmm. I don't understand. I don't know any other way to say it. And I don't know why it's not being said as that these people are being judged, juried, and executed in the same fashion. Right. And I don't know if people know where the title Strange Fruit comes from. It's a Billie Holiday song where she, many, many years ago, was so brave to make a song about lynching at a time where it was a norm. And she, Billie Holiday was a beautiful jazz singer who had her own problems, but I mean, she was brilliant with her music. And I told you that I wanted to play the song to go along with the the tree, but it didn't work out. It didn't work out. But it was an image when I was putting this together. It had to come out.
Southern trees bear strange fruit. That's the name of the song. Thank you. Yeah, so I mean, the image of it is super powerful. When we were doing the tour, I mean, well, you saw it, kind of JC, Laura, and I just kind of stood there. And that's kind of that piece in Do Not Put Me Here, which, again, for our folks online, is an image of a back of a Black man handcuffed with an arrow pointing at the back of the neck, which happens to be where the knee was when George Floyd died. And not just George Floyd. There's been others.
It's a
That's
standard,
just the name we know.
It's a standard police tactic, and it's just so dangerous. And it's like, I mean, I just don't see. I mean, I don't see it happening. As it just frustrates me that I can see all these people who are doing mass shootings and stuff like that. You don't see them on the ground being tortured.
Yeah,
I see them walking into places and
showering them with bullets and walking away.
Yeah, I just see them. They shoot up a school, a dance club, a this or that, and it's like, but I mean, George Floyd, for whatever person he was, there's a debate about was he a good person, was he a bad person, but the thing is, he never got a chance to go to court.
Right.
He never got that chance to even deal with the court system.
Right.
So it's just, I mean.
Well, and you know, you can take Kyle Rittenhouse as the perfect example. He literally opened fire in front of the police and killed 3 people, and then they let him walk towards them, and they arrested him.
But they thanked him before they were like, yeah, we need you, thank you for coming down to help us. Wait a minute, not saying that this man, he was a kid, that he had an unlicensed gun for that town, but yet you are letting him just shoot in the area because you don't like the people that you're supposed to be taking,
care of.
So, it's and the thing is, again, if you just knowing the history, and it's like the older I get, the more history I know, and it infuriates me more because I don't understand why certain things are not being taught in our schools about, the sundown towns. The whole areas that were booming at one point, that were decimated, that were bombed and destroyed in this country of Black cities. And not until my 30s did I even know that, like, this Central Park, there was a thriving area for people of brown and Black people that they just got rid of to make that park.
Right.
And it's just one of many areas that we're always told to pull ourselves up from our bootstraps.
Right. And
then it's like when they do it, don't do it too well, because then we're gonna have to make an example of you. And like,
well, that was what I forget. I apologize. I forget what city, but that's when they burned down the Black Wall Street. It just burned it to the ground, and
they said it was a riot.
Right.
It was a massacre.
It was a massacre, and I'm now forgetting what town that was in. But I was reading about that not too long ago because the anniversary came up on my Facebook feed, and I was like, oh, I don't know this history, and as I do, I Googled and spent, I don't know, an hour reading about it. And by the end of the hour, I was so mad because it's like, I just don't understand. It's like I don't understand why that's not being taught, because to me that's vital pieces of history.
Because if they teach those kind of things, they're afraid that it's going to incite violence back at them. That's how I see it. I mean, it may not, everybody may not see it the same way, but I see it as, I mean, all I know is like a lot of our, even just, I mean, this is what I'm saying. It's like sometimes I don't want to talk about this stuff every day.
Right.
And there's nothing, I can't get away from it. And it's not that I'm saying I should, it's just that it's ingrained in the DNA of me as a person of color.
Right.
And there's no way of getting around it. So, I mean, I'm glad I have my art to like focus it in a productive way to showcase and put my spin on history and ideas and taking in the information and putting it in a certain way that I can deal with it. Right.
Well, and I will say that there's a glimmer of that in the painting over there, which is name I cannot remember right now. But again, for our viewers, it's this kind of gorgeously gowned up figure staring kind of out of darkness towards a light. And for me, it signifies hope. I hope that I'm reading it correctly. But I, you know, when we were doing the tour, I said it, you know, on one hand, I'm thinking because we had just explored the piece COVID that dealt with the loneliness is to me, the first thought I had was, you know, oh, we're moving away from that kind of isolation of COVID towards our next future. But I think the reality in the context of the larger exhibit, there's a lot to do about the experience as a Black person, the experience as a trans person, and wanting to get to that light, that place where you're not burdened every day.
Mm-hmm. It's like, well, right now we're all dealing with COVID and the isolation, and everybody wants to go back to what our normal was. But for some people's normal wasn't that great.
Right.
But at least it's just still better than, I mean, if you are a person who has like multi-million, hundreds of thousands of dollars, and it's like, then all of a sudden you lose that. Your normal now is where at one point you didn't know how much a gallon of milk costs. Now you're clipping coupons.
Right.
Those are two different, really, really different, like, you know, norms. So if you're poor and we get hit with COVID and you're still poor, it's not like, it's like the drastic of the norms is not that big of a deal. So, I mean, right now it's like my norm is it's more or less my my society, my being around my friends, my circle of like loved ones has been cut off because of this. And it's like, that's the deal with my isolation. That's the deal with my looking down this long tunnel, hoping that, you know, at some point there will be a day where I can just breathe and just be okay, not worrying about an election, not worrying about what's on TV, not worrying about, you know, somebody in my family or, you know, catching this thing and being wiped out. I mean, it's just able to breathe, just get to that point.
Right. Well, I'm gonna ask you a uplifting question.
Lift me up.
Lift you up.
Lift me
up.
So
since your art is your therapy, and you have very different styles of art in here, I'm gonna ask you two questions. The first is, what is your favorite medium to create? And my second question is, because there's a lot of non-traditional items being used, what is your favorite non-traditional item to create art with?
There is no, that's like having a favorite child. No. It's true. You see, the thing is, as I tell you all the time, because we do talk about, like, I can and I'm so grateful, and I tell you this often. I am grateful to have you in my life.
Oh my God, I'm grateful to have you in my life.
Because
I don't feel worthy to have you in my life.
I mean, because the thing is, I can bounce things up. I can say, Patrick, what do you think about this? And the thing is, you know, like, I'm not rich. I don't have a huge bank account that I can just go out and shop and buy. I grew up going to here in New Haven. I went to ECA. I learned very early on that you don't have to spend a lot of money to make art. Mm-hmm. You can make art from things in your kitchen. If you look around, I can use anything to make art with. I mean, this was old boxes, some old hair that I never used. My friend of mine, Andrew Rubinoff, gave me some old stuff that he had from a party, and I made the shimmery spots. It's just, art doesn't have to be expensive. Yes, there are people that like to spend money on like certain materials because that's what they want to use. Again, when I was in the hospital, I had a Sharpie and a foam tray.
And you created that, which is amazing.
And as I said, it doesn't have to be expensive. It's just creativity. And anybody who has creativity can be creative. You don't need a lot to do it. I mean, old sign, some printouts, and Sharpie, and some paint. That one. Poster board, acrylics. That one. That was the box from my widescreen TV.
And full floats.
And the pool noodles.
Pool noodles.
So, and that's how I came out with that one. I mean, this whole tray is pool noodles that I got for 30 cents each.
Amazing.
And I built a tray.
Well, and you know, that this goes to something I do want to mention, which is that you're being honored very soon, in just a few weeks. And what? Well, you're getting the award on Saturday, but the actual public is on the 2nd. And so for our viewers who are watching, Tia is going to be getting a arts award. I'm fairly certain that you are breaking a glass ceiling, and the first trans artist in 45 years.
Really?
They've been doing this for 45 years, and I'm pretty sure you're the first trans artist to be awarded the award. It is an award through the Arts Council of Greater New Haven. It's also their fundraiser every year. And they've been doing this now for 45 years, and their theme was resilience. And can I tell you, as one of the people that nominated you, the moment I heard that word, you were the person I thought. Because like you said, you don't have to have millions of dollars of supplies to create. And that's something that, like, you've said to me so many times, and I think about when I think of my own creative ways. It's so true. You don't need to have, $40 a yard fabric. You can have $1 a yard fabric and make something phenomenal.
And pull it out.
And drag is that.
Drag. I mean, okay, you can't spend. If you're getting paid $100 to $150 in a number,
girl, nobody gets paid that anymore. It's like $75 and 2 drink tickets if you're lucky.
But I'm saying as a number. I'm just throwing it out as a number. If you're putting you can't go out and buy a $75 dress and earrings and makeup. So where you're spending more money to just put yourself together. So you have to come up with ways to say, okay, how can I get this look where I'm not spending my whole night's work just to pay for that one night?
Right.
I mean,
because I gotta also buy food with it after.
Exactly. You can actually live off of that money.
Right.
I mean, that's how I think about it. I mean, there's been times, as you said, I had to stop some of my girls from like running straight to the man and buying their stuff, and then it's like, baby, then you're broke all week. No, this doesn't make sense. If you're gonna go through all this trouble to put yourself together, at least make sure that you can maintain yourself with it. So
Yeah.
and it just takes a little preparation, a little time, and just trying to be creative. I mean, clothing, cooking, anything that you can think of. If you put a little creativity into it, it doesn't mean that you have to like kill yourself to do it.
No, that's right. And I think if people take anything away from this conversation today, beyond Black Lives and Trans Lives Matter, I think it is that being creative doesn't have to cost a fortune. Being creative does not need to.
It's free.
It's free. It's free. You're right. It is.
Being creative is free. And what you can get out of being creative, you can make yourself happy. You can make other people happy. You can make people think. You can make yourself, feel better because you're taking thoughts and putting them into an actual form, and making them reality.
Yeah.
In one way or another.
Yeah. Well, before we end, is there anything you want to tell our viewers at home other than to go watch the virtual tour? Go watch the virtual tour. We'll be on YouTube shortly. It is on Facebook, on Instagram already. But is there anything that you want to tell our viewers at home?
There's so many things that I want to say, but I mean, it's just take time to tell people that you have in your life that you love them. Show them that you care. Just don't say it. Show them that you care. I don't like using the word Thanksgiving, but the holidays are coming up and it's going to be kind of scary. So, take the time to show people around you that you care one way or another, because, it's scary out there right now. It is scary. I mean, people want to go back to the norm, but, we do what we can do while we can do it. We have a lot of other things coming up this week with Trans Remembrance. Please keep informed with that. There's the candlelight visual
on Friday.
I hope to see people come and support us and just show us that, we're not in this by ourselves. I mean, just like we had this big surge of people getting behind Black Lives Matter. Whenever there's a rally and there's people not of that situation who come to support, it only makes it better. Mm-hmm. So I'm hoping to see other people who are either friends of, loved ones of, just want to care to show support of, come and, show us your heart.
Yeah, and for anyone who's not familiar, Friday evening at 5:30, we are going to be hosting the Trans Day of Remembrance Vigil on the New Haven Green. We will also be streaming it live. So if you are not ready to be around a group of people, you can still participate. You can still be part of the evening and join us and support the trans community. I said this earlier, unfortunately, somehow, even during a lockdown, we managed to have more trans members of the community murdered this year in the U.S. than any year before. And I said this to the staff. I said this to you earlier. That's its own special breed of hate to be able to kill people in lockdown.
I can't put my head around it. It's just a situation that I hope at some point, again, one of those breathing moments that you can get to a point where it's like, that's not an issue every day.
Right.
Just hopeful. There's that hope that it'll be that way.
Yeah. So I'm going to say before we go that you should join us on Friday for the vigil, but you should join us all week. This is Trans Awareness Week. We kicked it off last night or yesterday with our Trans Hike, and then followed by our Celebrating Trans Artist Performance program that you are a part of. Thank you. And so many other amazing, talented performers. And for the rest of the week, we have an incredible week of talks and panels and conversations and spaces like our trans Black space that will be happening tomorrow night, Wednesday night, and Thursday night. Just visit newhavenpridecenter.org/TDOR. That's T as in Thomas, D as in dog, O, R as in rhino. And you can get all that information.
At some point, I want to bring up, if once COVID slows down, I would love to do an art class here.
And
like,
show people how to be creative on nothing.
Just give them ideas on how to be creative. I mean, with kids and just craft projects. I mean,
Let's do it.
This is a craft project. It's not like, I mean, people say it as a big, it's crafty. It's like taking things around my apartment and putting it together. To me, in my head, I'm like, oh, it's just crafting. It's like, it's just,
But it's also fine art.
Was it the eye of the beholder, or what is it?
It's all in the eye of the beholder. Art is in the eye of the beholder.
Yes, exactly.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Tia, artist, performer, activist, board member of the New Haven Pride Center.
I'll take that.
Community leader. Thank you for all you do. Thank you for, I feel so lucky every day to have you in my life.
Likewise.
I feel honored to know you, as you are, you're someone I don't like to use the word elder, but you are one of our community's elders, and it's such a privilege to be able to spend time with you, and especially when you cook. That's even more of a privilege, but it's such a privilege to spend time with you. It's going to be such a privilege for all of us to work with your art around us all day, every day, for the coming weeks. And I hope all of you, like I said, will take the virtual tour. We'll check out newhavenpridecenter.org/TDOR. We'll reach out to Elliot, our new trans program officer at trans@newhavenpridecenter.org. We look forward to many more opportunities, including an art class in the new year with you.
I hope so. I would love it. I would love to do an art class.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everybody, and have a great rest of your Monday.
Happy holidays.